So imagine you're reading this ancient text about a highly decorated military general.
Right, a really powerful guy.
Yeah, exactly. And he manages to cure this horrific skin disease by, taking a bath in a muddy river.
The Jordan River, yeah.
Right. And imagine concluding that your ultimate life takeaway for the day, the big lesson is just, I guess I should take more baths when I feel sick.
I mean, that sounds completely ridiculous.
It sounds absurd. Yet every single day, millions of people do the exact textual equivalent of this.
Oh, absolutely, they do.
They grab this ancient, complex story, completely ignore the underlying architecture of what it actually means, and just start aggressively hammering a surface-level detail into their modern lives.
Which is incredibly dangerous.
It really is. So welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are undertaking a masterclass in application. We're unpacking a really detailed guide to the final and, frankly, most dangerous step of inductive biblical study.
Yeah, the application phase.
Exactly. Our entire mission for you today, as you're listening, is answering one massive, highly personal question, which is, what should change in my life based on what I just read?
And, that danger you mentioned earlier, it is so real. I mean, we all know the standard sequence of study, right?
Right, it's 3 steps.
Exactly. You have step 1, observation, where you just gather the facts and ask, what do I see? Then you have step 2, interpretation, where you draw the blueprint and ask, what does it actually mean?
Which is the heavy lifting.
It is. And finally, you get to step 3, application, which asks, what should change? But human nature just despises that middle step.
Oh, we hate interpretation.
We really do. We want to bypass all that hard work, grab our hammer, and just start swinging away at our own lives.
Which is why we need some strict structural rules today.
Yeah.
I mean, methodologically speaking, if observation is gathering your lumber and concrete,
Okay.
and interpretation is the architect's blueprint, well, application is the actual construction of the house.
I love that analogy.
Right. Because you cannot just show up to an empty dirt lot with a hammer and start swinging without a blueprint.
I mean, you could, but...
But you don't get a house. You get a highly unstable pile of wood that is, eventually going to collapse on you.
Exactly. And to explore how to do this correctly, our sources use this incredibly dramatic playground, which is the ancient story of Naaman found in 2 Kings chapter 5.
Oh, it's such a good test case.
It's amazing, because if we can figure out how to safely cross the bridge from this intense, culturally distant narrative over to your life today, then we can apply this methodology to almost anything.
So let's talk about that bridge, because the gap between an ancient text and your modern life, it's massive.
It really is.
And there is a strict, non-negotiable rule in our source material for crossing it. The foundational law is this. We do not apply the story directly. We apply the meaning of the story. Let me repeat that, because it dictates literally everything we're going to discuss today. Do not jump from the story to yourself. You have to go through the main point. All application, structurally, it must flow from the main point.
And let's just look at the sheer drama of Naaman to see why jumping straight to yourself is so destructive.
Set the scene for us.
So Naaman wasn't just some guy. He was the commander of the army of the king of Aram. He was a great man, highly regarded, a valiant soldier.
He had a lot of status.
Huge status. He lived his life with massive expectations of how the world and even the divine should treat him. But he had leprosy.
The great equalizer.
Exactly. So he travels to Israel seeking healing, and he brings this absolute fortune in silver and gold, fully expecting a grand theatrical cure.
He wants a show.
He wants a performance, but instead, the prophet Elisha doesn't even come to the door.
Oh, wow. Just totally ignores them.
Basically. He sends a messenger out telling this decorated, proud general to go wash himself 7 times in the Jordan River. And Naaman is furious.
Because it's a dirty river.
Yeah, I mean, the Jordan is like a muddy ditch compared to the pristine rivers back home. It's a massive insult to his status.
Okay, so, methodologically speaking, if I ignore the rule we just talked about.
The rule about finding the meaning first.
Right. If I just read that surface-level narrative about Naaman taking a bath to be healed, and I apply that story directly to myself without finding the meaning.
What's your takeaway?
My personal application literally is just that weird wellness tip about taking baths. Like, if I'm sick, I should go find a river.
Exactly. You've taken a profound narrative about divine grace and human pride and turned it into like a primitive medical procedural.
Which completely ruins the text.
It does. That's what happens when you skip formulating the main point. Now, the source provides a few faithful formulations for the meaning of this text.
Okay, what are they?
Well, you could say, God humbles the proud and gives grace to the humble, even to outsiders. Or maybe God's power is received not through status, but through obedience to his word.
Both good.
Yeah, but the working main point we're going to use for this masterclass today is this. God gives grace to those who respond in humble faith, not to those who rely on status or expectation.
Okay, wait. I have to push back on this process for a second.
Go for it.
How do I actually know that my formulated main point isn't just, me projecting what I want the text to say?
Oh, that's a huge trap.
Right. Because it is incredibly easy to read a text and subconsciously twist the main point to validate whatever I already believe. How do we verify that the main point is rock solid before we start building the house?
Well, the methodology gives us a really specific checklist to prevent that kind of projection. You basically have to interrogate your own main point.
Okay. What are the questions?
First, does it explain the whole story, including the conflict? Second, does it fit the ending and the resolution? And crucially, third, is it God-centered?
So it can't just be about the human character.
Exactly. And our working main point, that God gives grace to humble faith, not human status. It ticks every single one of those boxes.
Because it explains Naaman's fury at the muddy river.
Yes. And it fits his ultimate healing when he finally submits. Plus, it places God as the active agent of grace, rather than making the story just some simple fable about a guy learning to be nice.
Right. Okay, so once we have that rock-solid, verified main point, the challenge shifts. How do we take that ancient truth centered on a Syrian general and an Israelite prophet and actually move it into your reality today?
Right. How do we bridge the gap?
Exactly. And the source material gives us a tool called the three-step transfer. It's a logical sequence designed to safely transport meaning from then to now.
I love this tool.
It's so structured. Step 1 asks, what did it mean then? Step 2 asks, what is the timeless truth? And step 3, what does it look like today?
So when we run the Naaman drama through that three-step transfer, the text really lights up.
Walk us through it. Let's start with step 1. What did it mean then?
Okay, in its original context, a truly great, powerful man had to completely humble himself, let go of his cultural superiority, and obey God's stunningly simple, almost insulting word to receive his healing.
Which naturally distills into step 2. What is the timeless truth?
Right.
So we pull away the chariots, we pull away the silver and the Jordan River, and we are left with the core principle. God gives grace to the humble, not the proud.
Yes. That was true for a military commander thousands of years ago, and it's a structural reality of the universe today.
And that brings us to step 3. What does it look like today?
Well, today, it means we must not resist God's way simply because it doesn't match our personal expectations.
Which we do all the time.
All the time. Naaman almost walked away from a literal miracle because the instructions were too simple and beneath his dignity. We do the exact same thing. We want God to act in a way that caters to our intellect or our pride or our modern sensibilities.
See, I have a major problem with step 3.
Oh, really? Why?
Well, will you tell a modern person, here is the timeless truth. Don't resist God's way out of pride. Our immediate knee-jerk reaction is to demand a to-do list.
Oh, yes. The productivity mindset.
Exactly. We think, okay, I have my timeless truth. Now, what are the 10 action steps I need to complete by Friday to prove I'm being humble? We turn the timeless truth into an aggressive productivity metric.
We really do.
So my question for you is, does finding a timeless truth always mean we have to go out and physically do something?
This is a massive stumbling block, and the answer is a resounding no.
Good, because that gets exhausting.
It does. But our culture equates application completely with physical action. If we aren't sweating or building or moving, we feel like we aren't applying the text.
Right.
But the source material is very clear here. Application comes in multiple forms. And assuming it's always a behavioral to-do list will actually cause you to misapply vast portions of the text.
That distinction is incredibly freeing. Because the pivotal question the methodology asks is, must I always apply the main point?
And the answer is?
The nuanced answer is no. You don't always apply it in the sense of an action, but you must always respond to it.
Respond, that's the key word.
Right, because not every passage gives a command. Some passages are purely revelational. They just tell you who God is.
Yes.
Some are perspective shaping. So the source breaks down 4 distinct categories of application to broaden our definition. You have belief, attitude, action, and worship.
And we need to pay attention to those.
We do, because there is a strict guardrail here. Do not force action where the text calls for understanding.
And the Naaman narrative is brilliant for illustrating these four categories because honestly, it contains all of them.
Okay, let's break them down. Let's look at the first category, belief.
So, application as belief asks, what must I understand or believe about God, about people, or about how the world works?
Okay.
From Naaman's story, your application for the day might simply be cementing the profound belief that God does not respond to human greatness. Period.
Wait, I can hear the listener wondering, is that it?
What do you mean?
I mean, isn't just believing something a bit of a cop-out? It sounds like an excuse to passively read the text, nod your head, and not actually change your life. How is a shift in belief considered a genuine application?
Because a true shift in belief dictates every action you take for the rest of your life.
Oh, that's good.
Right. If you genuinely believe that God is utterly unimpressed by your resume, your wealth, or your social status, that belief dismantles the anxiety driving your career. It changes how you treat the barista at the coffee shop.
So belief is the engine.
Belief is the engine of action. The application is internalizing that truth so deeply that it alters your entire lens on reality.
Okay, that makes the second category, attitude, much clearer. Because attitude asks, what must change internally regarding my posture?
It's the emotional counterpart to belief, yeah.
Right. So what does that look like for Naaman?
For Naaman, the shift had to be from this immense, fragile pride to vulnerability. For you listening today, the application might be an uncomfortable internal audit.
An audit.
Yeah, like asking yourself, where are you currently resisting submission? Are you angry about a situation in your life right now simply because it requires you to drop your ego and accept a reality you feel is beneath you?
Wow,
That internal wrestling, that is the application.
that's powerful. Then we arrive at the third category, which is action. And this is the one we're obviously most comfortable with.
Right. What should I do? How do I physically change my behavior?
Yeah. And action absolutely has its place.
Oh, for sure. In this story, the action is gritty. Naaman had to physically get off his high horse, walk down into a muddy river, and dunk himself 7 times. It violently contradicted his expectations.
He had to actually do it.
He did. Sometimes application is literally just doing the difficult, humbling thing you've been told to do, even when it makes no logical sense to your pride.
Okay. And finally, the fourth category, which is perhaps the most overlooked in our hyper-productive world. Worship or response.
I love this one.
It asks, how should I respond to who God has revealed himself to be?
And this is where the narrative completely leaves the ground. Because think about it, after Naaman's flesh is restored, after this incredible unearned grace is poured out on a foreign general, what is the application?
He tries to pay the prophet.
Right. Yes. He tries to pay Elisha, and Elisha refuses. The grace cannot be bought, so the only appropriate application left is gratitude. It's awe.
Just all.
Exactly. The application is literally just standing in stunned silence and thanking God for grace that you could never afford or deserve.
It's almost like, it's like trying to use a priceless painting as a hammer.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. If you read a passage that is meant to drop you to your knees in awe, and you violently try to extract a 10-step self-help plan from it, you are misusing the text.
You destroy the painting.
Exactly. You're taking something meant to shape your soul and trying to use it as a tool to fix your schedule.
And human beings constantly hijack the narrative like that because we desperately want to be the hero of the story. We want the text to be about our success, our action, our brilliant self-improvement.
Which brings us to the specific pitfalls. Because the source material explicitly warns us about 4 common mistakes that derail this entire application process. And honestly, they all stem from that exact desire to be the hero.
They really do. Let's go through them.
Okay, mistake number 1. Skipping interpretation altogether. We've touched on this, but it's that urge to jump straight to what this means to me.
Right. And we do this because interpretation takes time, and frankly, we are impatient.
We want immediate relevance.
We do. But if you skip interpretation, you aren't actually listening to the text. You are just using the text as an echo chamber for your own preconceived ideas.
You make the ancient words a mirror for your modern biases.
Perfectly said.
Okay, mistake number 2 is moralizing the story. Now, this sounds incredibly pious. It sounds like reading 2 Kings 5 and saying, the lesson here is that I need to be a humble guy like Naaman so good things will happen to me.
Yeah, that's a classic one.
But what is so destructive about that? I mean, isn't humility a good moral?
Humility is a great moral, but moralizing completely flattens the cosmic drama of the text.
How so?
Well, the story of Naaman is ultimately about God's radical, unmerited grace reaching outside the borders of Israel. It is not Aesop's fables.
Right.
If you moralize it, you turn a staggering revelation of the divine into a cheap behavioral self-help lesson. You make the story about human effort rather than divine rescue.
Which leads directly into mistake number 3, making ourselves the center of the story.
The biggest trap of all.
We naturally map ourselves onto the main character,
Mhm.
right? We say, I am Naaman, battling my own personal leprosy of bad habits, and I need to wash in the river of good choices.
And it's just a complete hijacking of the text. When we make ourselves the center, we miss the transcendent reality of who God is showing himself to be.
We shrink the universe down to the size of our own personal development goals.
Exactly. It's so small.
And the final common mistake, mistake number 4, is forcing application. This is exactly what we discussed with the painting and the hammer.
Right. Trying to produce a physical action when the text emphasizes truth, belief, or worship.
And you can see how all 4 of these mistakes are so interconnected.
They are. They all stem from a refusal to submit to the blueprint. If you draw the wrong interpretive blueprint, the house is going to collapse.
You miss out on the profound weight of the narrative because you were too busy looking for a quick fix to your daily problems.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this masterclass, I really want to cement the architecture of this methodology in your mind. If you are going to study biblical narrative, or really any complex ancient text, you have to respect the structure.
The rules matter.
They do. The 3 steps are non-negotiable. First, observation. What do I see? You have to patiently gather the materials.
Don't skip it.
Second, interpretation. What does it mean? You have to draw the blueprint and formulate a rock-solid text-based main point. And third, application. What should change? You built the house, but only by bridging that main point into your modern reality using the transfer principle.
And, if there is one central thesis to take away from everything we've explored today,
What is it?
it's this. Application is not only what you do, it is how you think, how you feel, and how you respond to God. The source leaves us with a brilliant, concise warning that serves as a perfect summary for your own study. Observe carefully, interpret faithfully, apply wisely.
Apply wisely. I love that. And I want to leave you, the listener, with one final thought to mull over today.
Okay.
We spent this entire deep dive talking about how to correctly apply a text to your individual life. But zoom out for a second. Think about the ripple effect of this methodology on an entire community.
Oh, wow.
If a whole group of people, an entire culture, suddenly stop trying to aggressively extract these exhausting 10-step self-help action plans from ancient texts. If they stop making themselves the hero of every single story and instead allow themselves to just be shaped by belief, by attitude shifts, and by sheer awe.
Everything changes.
How much of our modern burnout, anxiety, and spiritual exhaustion would simply disappear overnight? Think about the immense relief of realizing that sometimes the only thing you're required to do with a profound truth is just stand in awe of it.